Hello students, our next topic today in solid state chapter is electrical properties of solids. Solids are classified into three groups on the basis of their electrical conductivity. First are conductors. Normally conductors we say are the metals which conduct electricity, and their conductivity is of the order 10 raised to power 4 to 10 raised to power 7 per ohm per meter. Then we have semiconductors. Those solids which have intermediate conductivities ranging from 10 raised to power minus 6 to 10 raised to power 4 per ohm per meter, they are semiconductors. And as the temperature increases, their conductivity increases because electrons present in the valence band, they can jump to conduction band. So the electrons can move. If electrons can move, that means the substance can become little bit conductor in nature. Now what is valence band and what is the conduction band, that we'll cover up afterwards. Third are the insulators. Insulators which have very low conductivity ranging from 10 raised to power minus 20 to 10 raised to power minus 10 per ohm per meter. These kind of substances are insulators. Now what is the cause of this conductance? Cause of conductance in solids. What is the reason for this thing? Like here we have written valence band, conduction band. So how these are formed, and because of these valence band and conduction band, how the substance will become conductor, semiconductor or insulator, that we will study in this part. So in metals, conductivity depends on valence electrons available in an atom, and a band is formed due to closeness of molecular orbitals which are formed from atomic orbitals. How? I'm taking the example of lithium. Let's say lithium, and I'm taking 4 lithium atoms. Electronic configuration of lithium is 1s2, 2s1. So its last shell is 2s and its second shell, the s orbital, has 1 electron each. So 8 lithium atoms if I'm taking, they have 1 electron in their last shell. So valence electrons I'm taking. And these atomic orbitals, they will overlap. When atomic orbitals, they overlap, what will form? Molecular orbitals will form. So by the combination of these, the molecular orbitals which are forming, 8 atoms atomic orbital will overlap. So how many molecular orbitals will form here? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have 5, 8, like this. 8 molecular orbitals will form. And now we have to fill the electrons in these molecular orbitals. These are the atomic orbitals of how many lithium atoms? 8 lithium atoms. And these are so close to each other that it just looks like a band. This whole thing actually looks like a band like this. And all these atomic orbitals which are chained to molecular orbital, they are very close to each other. And when we fill these 8 electrons, they will first of all be filled up in the low energy molecular orbital and then move on to the high energy molecular orbital. So if we see this part looks like half filled. So this band which is formed here of the molecular orbitals, this gets half filled up and half of this one is empty. So here the electrons will get the space to move into this empty part. And when electrons are moving into this empty part, of course this solid will become a conductor. And this is formed from the valence, electrons from the valence shell, and this is known as valence band. This band formed is known as valence band. See here we mentioned valence band. So this is how the valence band is formed. Now sometimes what happens is, After lithium, I'm taking the example of beryllium. See, in case of beryllium, again I'm taking 8 beryllium atoms. Now the configuration is 1s2, 2s2. Now they have 2 valence electrons. And these atomic orbitals also, when they will overlap, what they will form? They will form molecular orbitals very close to each other. And this also looks like a band only. But when we fill electrons in these molecular orbitals, now all these molecular orbitals, they will get filled up. So this whole valence band formed here from valence electrons gets completely filled up like this. This is the which band formed here? This is the valence band formed here. Now how this substance will become a conductor? There is no space for electrons to move here. So this should not be a conductor, but surprisingly beryllium conduction is even more than that of lithium. So how this part can be explained? For this they said that the last complete shell here, beryllium configuration is 1s2, 2s2. So second shell filling has started here. So second shell also has a 2p orbitals. So this theory says that above there's a 2p orbitals, though there are no electrons, but still they will also overlap and they will form the band above this also. Though there will not be any electrons here, but one band of these empty molecular orbitals overlapping will form above the valence band. This band is called conduction band. What is the name of this band? Conduction band. Now there is a valence band also and there is a conduction band also. Now based on this valence and conduction band, we can explain when the substance will be conductor, insulator and semiconductor. So I am taking 3 parts here: conductor, insulator and semiconductor. Now in this case what we'll have is, see here, first diagram that I've drawn for lithium. In this case, this is the valence band and we have done half of this valence band is filled. Half of this valence band is filled. So electrons are getting the space to move here and this substance will become a conductor. And this is in the case of metals. This we get in the case of the metals. And we label this as, this is partially filled band, not completely filled, partially filled valence band. But in case of this beryllium or in case of magnesium, the situation will be like this. We have this valence band, see here, it's completely filled up with the electrons. But above valence band, one more band is formed from the empty orbitals. So when this band will form, the situation is actually like this. This band formed here partially overlaps with the valence band. When this band formed partially overlaps with the valence band, this is the completely filled valence band. So when this partial overlapping of the valence band and the conduction band, electrons can come here, they can move here. So when the electrons can move here easily, that means this substance will become a conductor. So there are 2 situations for a substance to become conductor. If its valence band only is partially filled, electrons will get the space to move here and it will become a conductor. But if the valence band is completely filled and the conduction band formed here is partially overlapping with this valence band, electrons easily from the valence band can move into this band and hence the substance will become a conductor. So there are 2 situations for a substance to become a conductor. Because this band formed here is explaining the conduction of the substance. Hence, this band formed here is known as which band? This is called conduction band. This band is a conduction band. Now, next after this we have when the substance will be insulator. This is the valence band formed here, which is completely filled up. And above this valence band, there's formation of conduction band. But conduction band and the valence band is a lot of energy difference. And this is called energy gap, or also called forbidden zone. This is filled band. This is empty band. And this empty band is conduction band. But there's a lot of energy difference between valence and conduction band, and electrons from here cannot reach to this part. And hence the electrons cannot move. If electrons are not able to move, this substance will become an insulator. This substance will be an insulator. This is conductor. And if we have this situation, then that solid will be an insulator. Now next we have again a filled band and a conduction band formed above this. But difference in the two now is very less. Small energy gap is there. Small energy gap. And this is completely filled up. So now some electrons from this valence band can reach to this one because there's small energy gap here. And if some electrons can move, then this substance will become a semiconductor in nature. So electrical properties of solids, that is whether they are conductor, insulator or semiconductor, depends on the band theory. This answer we are giving on the basis of which theory? This is the band theory, the bands which are formed here, the valence band, the conduction band which are formed here. On the basis of this, we are explaining when substance solid will be conductor, insulator or semiconductor in nature. If the valence band only is partially filled or the valence band and the conduction band partially overlap, electrons easily can move and hence substance will be conductor. But if valence band is completely filled and conduction band is above it and there's a lot of energy difference in the two, electrons from this band cannot reach to this one, so substance will become an insulator. And when valence band and conduction band, there is a small energy difference in the two. Some electrons from this can reach to conduction band and hence this solid will become a semiconductor. So like this we can answer when the substances will be a conductors, insulators and semiconductors. Now next topic after this, we have the last topic of the chapter, magnetic properties of solids. Magnetic properties of solids. We have done diamagnetic corrector, paramagnetic corrector, but now we are doing ferromagnetic, ferrimagnetic, anti-ferromagnetic corrector also. So magnetic properties of solids. The substances can be classified into 5 types on the basis of their magnetic properties. These are, first we are taking diamagnetic corrector. Diamagnetic corrector. Now these are weakly repelled by the external magnetic field. The atoms of these substances, the electrons in these atoms, they are all paired up in the orbitals. In these orbitals, electrons are all paired up. So as pairing of electrons cancel their magnetic moment, they all cancel out the magnetic moment of each other. So they lose their magnetic character and this substance will become diamagnetic in nature. It is weakly repelled by the external magnetic field. And then we have to learn examples of diamagnetic substances. One example is NaCl. Then we have water, benzene, etc. These substances are diamagnetic in nature because all electrons here, they are paired up. Next, after this, we have paramagnetic substances. Paramagnetic solids or substances are those which are weakly attracted by the external magnetic field. These are weakly attracted. Why they are weakly attracted by the external magnetic field? Because electrons in these atoms, in their orbitals, they are unpaired. So when some electrons are unpaired like this, when electrons are unpaired, magnetic moment of this will be cancelled out by this one. This one will be cancelled out by this one. But some unpaired electrons are left. This substance can have one or more unpaired electrons. So because of these unpaired electrons, it is weakly attracted because less electrons are there unpaired. So weakly attracted by the external magnetic field. And these substances are weak, or you can say temporary magnets. These are temporary magnets, and they lose their magnetism once we remove the external magnetic field. They will have these unpaired electron alignment in presence of external magnetic field. Once we remove that external magnetic field, then they will lose their magnetic behavior. Example of these substances which show paramagnetic character are oxygen, ferric, copper, etc. These they show paramagnetic behavior. After paramagnetic behavior, next we are moving on to the ferromagnetic character. Ferromagnetic substances are which substances which are strongly attracted by the external magnetic field. Ferromagnetic substances are those which are strongly attracted. These are strongly attracted by the external magnetic field. Now in these cases, we are not taking the electrons in the orbitals. What happens in these solids is the metals ions of these, suppose these are metal ions of these substances, they group together. The metal ions are grouping together here. In small regions they group together, and when they group together, what they form? Domains. These are called domains. By the grouping of these metal ions, domains are formed, and each domain is actually like a tiny magnet. It is like a tiny magnet, and when this substance which have formed the domains is placed in external magnetic field, when they are placed in external magnetic field, what happens? All the domains get oriented in the direction of magnetic field. They all get aligned here towards the external magnetic field. That means it shows a strong magnetic effect. This ordering of domains, all domains get oriented this side. This ordering of domains remain even if we remove this external magnetic field. Once we remove this, then also they remain aligned like this only. That means these substances, they are permanent magnets because the alignment will remain as it is even after removal of external magnetic field. So which substances are strong magnets? Paramagnetic or ferromagnetic? Ferromagnetic are strong magnets because they will have the magnetic character even in absence of external magnetic field. Example, iron, cobalt, nickel. And how the domains are aligning? See here, I'm drawing a domain. It's not an orbital. These are domains. Collective effect of all these here. So the collective effect of the electrons of all these ions which are in one domain, their magnetic character for all the domains in one direction. All are aligned towards one side. And because of large number of unpaired, or you can say large number of the electrons in one side, that is towards external magnetic field, this becomes highly magnetic in nature. These kind of substances are known as ferromagnetic in nature. Now, after ferromagnetic, we are moving on to the anti-ferromagnetic substances. In case of anti-ferromagnetic substances also, domains are there. But in this case, what happens is, it's similar to that of ferromagnetic, but all domains are oppositely oriented. When domains are oppositely oriented, like for example, I'm taking 6 domains and they are oriented oppositely like this. So what happens, they will cancel out the magnetic moment of each other, and as a result of this, what happens is, this will lose its magnetic character and this substance will become anti-ferromagnetic in nature. Though large number of unpaired electrons you can say, but they are equally oriented in the opposite directions. That is why they cancel out the magnetic moment of each other. And you can say the net magnetic moment becomes 0. And here the net magnetic moment is very high. Now, next we have is ferrimagnetic substances. Ferrimagnetic substances are those substances in which there is unequal number of magnetic moments in parallel and anti-parallel directions. Like 2 are like this, then 1 is in this direction, like this we have. So what happens here is, unequal number of magnetic moments are arranged parallel and anti-parallel. This will cancel out the magnetic moment criteria of this one. This cancels out the magnetic moment of this one. And only few domains are left which are towards one direction, which are responsible for the net magnetic moment value. So this shows a low or less magnetic moment value. Though large number of unpaired electrons, but some of these cancel out the magnetic moment of each other, and net result is we will get very less magnetic moment value. Example is Fe3O4. So here also large number of unpaired electrons, but equal number of arrangement of these electrons is in the parallel and anti-parallel direction. So all they cancel out the magnetic moment of each other, and net result is 0 magnetic moment value. And here the electrons of the domains are arranged all towards one side. So all are contributing towards magnetic moment value, and hence large magnetic moment value we will get. So remember, in ferromagnetic, anti and ferrimagnetic, we are not taking the electrons in orbitals of atoms. We are taking domains here. And what are domains? Domains is a collection of atoms. This is a collection of the atoms, or you can say collection of the metal ions. And all these collected atoms here, they form a domain, and each domain is like a tiny magnet. And alignment of these domains in presence of external magnetic field is how? Based on that, they will be ferro, anti or ferrimagnetic. If all these domains align in one direction, then large magnetic moment value is there. If equal number of these domain electrons are towards the parallel and anti-parallel direction, then we will have the net value of magnetic moment as 0, because they all cancel out the magnetic moment of each other. And if unequal arrangement of these domains is in the parallel and anti-parallel direction, then some of these are contributing towards the net magnetic moment value, and hence substances will become ferrimagnetic in nature. This is about the electrical properties of solids and magnetic properties of solids.